Hey, what's up guys, it's DisturbedLegit. Today we're going to be taking a look at a build that can counter Sentry shotgunners. It's not a 100% counter, but I'll get into that in a minute. Before I get into it, I just want to say, sorry for my voice. It's probably pretty nasally right now. I was sick like a week ago, and I'm still a little bit congested, so my voice is probably going to sound like this for the next couple of days, so my bad about that. Hopefully it isn't horrible for your ears, but anyways, let's get right into the build. So I'm going to be using Deadeye. This is the only way that I've found to actually effectively counter a Sentry shotgunner. There's multiple different reasons as to why, mainly just because Deadeye is really good. It can do a crap load of damage, but also because you can use it as a range, and if you're playing with a group, what you can do is you can kind of sit behind a smart cover and then actually literally snipe people from a distance. And you know, a big advantage or disadvantage that Sentry shotgunners have is that they have to be right up in your face. And one way that you can kind of pry them up at you, or you can kind of bait them, is that you can hide. Let's say there's here. Let me give an example. Let's say some of my friends are over here fighting, they run up close, and then I'm in the back, and people kind of don't even know that I'm here. I just throw down a smart cover here, and then I start shooting them, and then let's just say, for an example, one of my friend dies, or maybe one of the Sentry shotgunners sees that I'm over here. He'll come running towards me, but then that gives me a huge advantage because they're just running directly at me, and if I get 3 or 4 shots on them, they're dead. And I'm also in a smart cover, so even if they do manage to run up to me, I have a huge amount of damage resilience and extra damage that I'm benefiting from, and I'm just going to be able to sit here and just hit them and probably 3 or 4 shot them depending upon how I have my build set up. And you know, it's not, like I said before, it's not a 100% hard counter to Sentry shotgunners, but to me it's the only way that you can actually effectively kind of counter them, or a build that will actually make it to where you have a higher likelihood of killing them than they have of killing you. Again, you can only do it if it's only going to be effective if you use it effectively. If you play, you know, kind of recklessly and you just run up and you just go ba 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 ba, you know, you're probably not going to see as good of a result as if you were to, you know, kind of play tactically and whatnot. So it's only a really good counter if you play correctly. If you play, you know, like I said, recklessly, you're probably still going to get one-shotted by Sentry shotgunners, and you know, it's not a 100% hard counter, but the build does work pretty nicely. So getting right into the build, for me, I'm running obviously 4-piece Deadeye for the 100% crit chance on the sniper rifle. If you don't know about this, it makes it really good. It makes my sniper rifle hit, I don't remember. I think with a smart cover it hits for about 30,000. I really don't remember because I haven't played in a while. Again, sorry, I don't actually have gameplay of this. I will link a stream that I used Deadeye in a long time ago. It's probably not the best gameplay in the world because my build wasn't as good, but it's just to give you an outline. But Deadeye is really powerful. You can 3 or 4 shot people if you have it set up correctly. So obviously going to be running 4-piece Deadeye for this, so you can use a sniper rifle, and you know, if you play right, you're going to be able to counter them. For the other 2 pieces, I have final measure on. The only problem I had when running Deadeye is that I would get killed by sticky bombs all the time. I don't know. My final measure gear is also really good. As you can see, my stats are pretty damn high with having the final measure on. But you can use a plethora of other two-set bonuses. You can use like a reckless chest piece and then an inventive backpack. You just get extra damage and then extra skill power from the backpack. Or even a vigorous chest piece. You can use 2-piece tactician for extra skill power, 2-piece blind for extra pulse critical hit damage. You can use there's probably a couple other 2-set bonuses that I'm forgetting about. So you can use a lot of different things. I like to use the 2 final measure, like I said, because you know, the only problem I had with this build was that I was getting hit by sticky bombs. In terms of your firearms, your toughness, and your skill power, since I wanted this build to counter Sentry shotgunners, with my extremely high amount of toughness, I just wanted to make it to where it's really hard for them to do damage to me, even if they somehow manage to run up to me and I'm behind a smart cover. So maybe it takes an extra shot or something if I have that much extra health. If you just want to go pure damage, that's perfectly fine. I would just recommend getting at least over 400k toughness and then putting the rest into firearms. I just like to have it set up like this. It's just more fun for me, but it's just really up to you. You know, it actually doesn't make that big of a difference really. The extra firearms will only give you a couple hundred extra base damage, but you know, it's still a pretty nice noticeable increase. And same thing with the health. It's really just up to you. Just make sure to get 25 firearms so you can unlock all the gun talents on your weapon, and then 400k toughness as an outline. And then let's take a look at weapons, and then we'll just go into the specific roles that I have on every single piece of gear like I usually do. So For my primary gun, obviously going to be using a sniper rifle. In terms of the attachments on the scope, you're not going to need headshot damage because with Deadeye it voids all headshot damage, and you don't need crit chance either, so you just want to go for accuracy. Just make sure to get a scope with accuracy. This will make it to where you can spray your shots more often. Usually if you could try to get accuracy and optimal range, that will make it the best. It'll just give your M1A a little bit more range, but ultimately just make sure to get accuracy, and headshot damage and crit chance doesn't matter because you're using Deadeye. And then for the magazine, there's multiple things that you can use. I personally love to use rate of fire and crit damage. This just makes me do a bunch of damage, and with the rate of fire, it of course increases the RPM and makes it to where I can spray an extra shot or two, and that extra shot or two can easily kill somebody much faster than, if I didn't have rate of fire on. So it's really just up to you and what you like to use. Personally, like I said, I just like to use a crit damage and rate of fire because I like to hit really hard and I like to shoot really fast. You can also go with a mag size and a mag size and rate of fire one if you just want to have 20 bullets and then spray, or if you just want to have 20 bullets and do a pretty good amount of damage, go with mag size and crit damage. Mag size and weapon damage usually is better, but with Deadeye, it's actually better to go for crit damage. I tested this. Weapon damage doesn't give as much of a bonus as crit damage will. Usually it's the other way around because you don't have a 100% crit chance, so the weapon damage will benefit your white hits as well, which makes it better. But in this case, you're getting 100% crit chance, so that crit damage will be more beneficial. So that's pretty much it for the magazine. For your grip and for your muzzle, you just want to get a combination of accuracy and stability, and then accuracy and then crit damage, of course. Accuracy and stability will just make it to where you can spray your shots much more often, and makes it pretty helpful. And then obviously the crit damage just to do as much damage as possible. For the primary weapon, it really doesn't, or for the secondary weapon, it really doesn't matter that much. I like to use an SMG because when people rush at me, or maybe I have to reload my M1A, or do something like that, I just pull out the SMG, and I can do a pretty decent amount of damage to people at close range. You can also vouch for something like a shotgun and then use one as none on it with against NPCs, so you're not using that much ammo. But usually I restock with Lone Star, and then the SMG has a perfect amount of ammo, and I never seem to run out of ammo. So an SMG is pretty reliable. Assault rifle is nice too. It's really just up to personal preference and what you have a really good gun rolled on. Like I said, I'm using an SMG. Now we're going to look at individual gear set rolls, or gear piece rolls. For the chest piece, you want armor and exotic damage resilience. I wasn't able to get EDR in the chest piece. I actually had to roll for armor. Unfortunate roll here, but health is decent as well. It's not the greatest. I would definitely go for exotic damage resilience just so sticky bombs do way less damage. But is what it is. Excuse me, throat's getting a little bit sore. My bad. For the mask, you want to go for skill power. Skill power is just going to make it to where your pulse or your smart cover or your heal is going to do a lot more, and obviously you don't need crit chance or damage to elites or anything because this is for PvP, so skill power is going to be your best bet there. Obviously on the knee pads, you want to go for crit damage just so you're doing as much damage as you possibly can. On the backpack, again, you want to go for crit damage so you can do as much damage as you possibly can. You can go for skill power if you want, but the way that I see it is that you're not getting as much damage from it. Like if you get 7k skill power, that would put me up around 31k, 32k skill power, which is a really, really high amount of skill power and a really nice place to be at. And if you like to use a heal a lot and that's your kind of play style, go for it. Nobody's holding you back, but I think the 20% crit damage will give you more damage than the extra skill power will. The extra skill power won't end up being an extra 20% crit damage on your pulse or that much damage in return on the smart cover. So the crit damage ends up being a little bit more damage, but with the skill power you get your skills back faster and they're a little bit more effective, so it's really just up to you. I go for the crit damage because it's extra damage, and because I was using this build before I was even using smart cover. So is what it is. I also had to reroll from electronics, I believe, on this backpack, so couldn't even go for skill power anyways, but skill power or crit damage on the backpack. The gloves are kind of tricky. You just want to make sure you get crit damage and marksman rifle damage so you're doing as much damage as possible. You can also go for crit chance. It's not as important, but you can go for crit chance just so that your SMG or whatever the other gun you're using has a little bit of extra damage added onto it. Obviously for your sniper rifle you have 100% crit chance, so you don't really need the crit chance. On the gloves, it's just nice to have for your other gun, but just make sure to get crit damage and marksman rifle damage so you're doing as much damage per shot as possible. And then obviously on the holster you're going to go for armor, and then yeah, pretty much you need the armor to reach armor cap. So that's pretty much it. In terms of modding your gear, I went for skill power all out. If you aren't at armor cap, I'm pretty sure I'm at armor cap. Yeah, if you're not at armor cap, just try to maybe get like 1 or 2 armor mods in there so you can reach the cap and get over 400k toughness. Otherwise, I would just put everything into skill power so that, like I said before, your heal, smart cover, or whatever it is that you're using is more effective. And you don't need crit chance, obviously, because you got 100% crit chance. In terms of the skills, it's really up to what you like to use. If you're focusing on countering sentry shotgunners, I would say use a smart cover. The smart cover will give you a huge amount of damage and damage resistance, which is really nice when fighting other players. It's not going to be the best in the world. If you go for skill power, it will be a little bit better, give you more damage resilience and damage buff. Mine is pretty low, but sometimes I'll have another person with me that's running smart cover. But with this build, you either want to run something like a smart cover, or a pulse can be really nice as well. My pulse has a pretty decent amount of crit damage for my skill power rating. And then for the other skill, obviously you're going to go for first aid all the time just so you can heal yourself. And if a sentry shotgunner gets a hit on you, you want to definitely be able to heal yourself. Booster shot's nice if you're just camping behind that smart cover and nobody sees you. You can just use your booster shot to get a little bit extra damage and damage resilience. You know, stacking that on top of the smart cover can be really, really powerful. Usually I go for overdose just when I need it in those certain situations, but it's really just up to you. You don't really want to use something like shock turret or flashbang because you're going to be trying to get as much damage out of it as possible. So using something like a smart cover or a pulse will benefit you greatly. In terms of talents, I don't have mine set up perfectly right now, but you want to use triage even if you aren't, or even if you are detached from your group. Oftentimes it's still going to be really helpful when you are with your group. Just heal up, everybody gets a skill back, and there really isn't that many other skills that you could choose in place of this, so I would go for triage all the time. Another one, critical save. Use a med kit during low health to increase damage resistance. Just a huge amount of damage resistance that you benefit from this. Also, it does work with a first aid as well, so if you get really low, if a sentry shotgunner almost one-shots you, then you heal, get an extra 40% damage resistance. Then if you get to full health, that will basically mitigate the extra damage that they benefited from the sentry bonus on you, and then they will have a less likelihood of one-shotting you, so that's really nice. And then you're not going to need precision because you're not going to be headshotting people, and you should have somebody using pulse on your team anyways, so that's not going to be that great. And one is done, you're not going to be headshotting people either. You can keep both of these talents if you want for your secondary weapon, like your SMG or whatever, when fighting NPCs, or if you just want to use it. But another good talent that you could take in place of those would be steady hands. Enter any cover, smart cover, to reduce recoil by 25%, so this will just make it to where you can spam your M1A even more. It should be pretty recoil controlled already, but this will just make it even more into a laser beam if you want it to. And then another thing that you could replace one of those talents with is adrenaline. Use a medkit when not at full health to receive an overheal. This will just give you a pretty decent amount of healing with your medkit, and you know, if you're just worried about surviving from sentry shotgunners all the time, this will be pretty nice as well. These, I've seen people use strike back a lot. Honestly, I don't really think it's that helpful. Reach low health to reduce active skill cooldowns. If you reach low health, chances are you're either 1, going to immediately heal yourself, or 2, you're dead. So I don't see this talent being useful in any situation, and only reducing your active skill cooldowns by 20%. I mean, maybe if you get really low health and then there's like a sliver away from your heal and you just need it instantly, it can be helpful in that situation, but those situations are like far and few in between. It's kind of a rare scenario, but if you really want it for that just rare occasion, then I guess you can go for it. Personally, I think the talent's kind of useless, but it is what it is. Combat medic's helpful if you're in a group scenario, but you know, you're going to be pretty far from your teammates if you're using that smart cover, like I said before. And these other talents can be pretty helpful, or can be more beneficial than using combat medic would. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the build. I think my build's pretty solid right now, and if you use this, you should be able to counter sentry shotgunners pretty decently. Again, if you play really well. You could have some problems, you know, sentry shotgunners are pretty powerful right now, but if there's anything close to a counter, I think this would be that. So if you like the video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe for videos similar to this one. I'm sorry that I couldn't get gameplay in this. I'm just really busy with school and doing people's accounts and all this other stuff. Also, World of Warcraft comes out on the 30th, and I really just don't even play this game anymore, but I do have streams of where I use this build. It wasn't the exact build. This is kind of a more touched up version, and in this stream I was kind of, you know, playing recklessly, but there is still some accurate gameplay, just showing how powerful this build really can be. But Sentry shotgunners have been more prevalent recently. Back then, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was still a pretty big problem, but recently is when it's really gotten bad because people have actually had the opportunity to farm Falcon Lost, and almost everybody has their Sentry gear now. That's like what everybody's resorted to. So it's a little bit worse of a problem now, but you know, I'm just going off on a tangent now. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the build, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.